Hi everyone, and welcome to the session today called Enterprise Level Integrations. My name is Milos, and together with me my colleague Jozsef, who will tell about himself a bit more in a few minutes. I'm working for HTEC for about 8 years. I currently work as an engineering lead, and I'm also certified Azure Solutions expert. In the session today, we would like to talk about a bit how it looks like to work in large enterprise organizations and environments where we need to do complex integrations between different subsystems, which are either internal or external. First, we will give you a short introduction about the project and the client. Then we will show you how one of the complex business processes look like in order to show you the scale of these integrations and what it means to work in enterprise organizations. And also we will tell you about some technical details and technical challenges that we had during the implementation. So to start, both Jozsef and I work on the same project for the same client, which is a major player in the satellite communications domain. The challenge working for these kind of organizations is the size of the organization and what it means that we need to work with many different subsystems and many different tools that are either internal or external, and to make sure that there is a consistent data flow and that everything is in sync. Another challenge is the complexity of the domain, which makes these integrations a bit more challenging. So we selected one of the business processes that we call customer onboarding and technical fulfillment, which is basically what happens when there is a new customer and that we need to onboard him and to make sure that he can use his equipment and his services that he would like to use. So everything starts in a CRM tool where sales teams can go and negotiate the opportunity with the new client. And that is a trigger for us that we need to start the provisioning process. When we detect that the opportunity is set to 1 in CRM, inside CRM system, that triggers a process on our side where we need to create create customer details and synchronize it throughout the whole system and both internal and external in order to make everything consistent and to prevent failures in the future. And this is details like customer information, his accounts, his contracts, and so on. So once the customer is onboarded, then the next step is to configure the product for the customer, where technical and project teams can go and do all kinds of validations and add additional technical information to enrich the product. And in this stage, basically the product goes through multiple stages which triggers a different business process where we need to collect this additional information that was added and propagate it to the rest of the ecosystem. Then once the project teams and technical teams have entered additional technical information and enriched the product and also validated that everything is correct, then we can kick off the provisioning process, which means that we need to go and create a service order. We need to create tracking entities in order for other teams to be able to track what is going on with this product and what is in which stage it is. Once everything is ready, then we start the provisioning. The first step of provisioning is to prepare and create shipment of physical equipment to a customer, which means that we need to collect and compile a bill of material that consists of actual physical equipment parts, prices, quantities, and so on. And we need, once we have this bill of material, we need to send it to logistics team, which can then prepare the shipment and send it to customer. Then once the physical equipment is ready, then we can continue to technical fulfillment, which means that we need to go and configure different back office systems that are either internal or external. Then we need to prepare and configure shore hubs and modems in order for this equipment to be able to communicate over the satellite. And also we need to prepare configuration for field engineers that can use this configuration when they are installing and configuring the remote equipment. Then once we have shipped the equipment to a customer and we have configured all technical systems in order for this equipment to be able to communicate to the shore. Then we can proceed to service activations, which means that we need to create subscription for each commercial service, and also notify billing teams that now customer is able and ready to use his equipment and services, and then billing can proceed and start billing the customer and sending them invoices. So this is how one of the process looks like, and what it means, how it's implemented. So I will show you now this basically simplified system diagram, which shows all the components of the systems and how they are connected. As I mentioned, so we work with different tools like CRM tools, operational tools, where operational teams and logistics teams can track what is happening with the order, product configuration tools for sales and projects and technical teams to configure the product, ERP systems, configuration management systems, billing systems, and also our central ordering system, which is there to collect the order and to control the fulfillment. Also on the other side, we have systems like back office, shore hubs and modems that are there to establish communication with the remote location through the satellite. And all these components and all these systems are connected through a series of processes that are implemented using Azure functions, and these processes are there to make sure that there is a consistent data flow throughout the ecosystem and that customer can use his services without any interruptions. How it looks like in real life. So this is the application map that we created collecting trace information over a period of 1 week. And every green and red node represents an API or a function that is there and communicating with each other and establishing data flow throughout the system. And all other nodes are actually some other resources or some external APIs or functions that we need to integrate with. So this was how the process looks like. And now my colleague Jozsef will tell you a bit more about some technical challenges and details during the implementation.
Hi everyone, my name is Jozsef. I'm an Azure architect and an Azure enthusiast. I'm mainly focusing on software as a service and platform as a service solutions. This will also reflect the solution that I'm about to present to you. To give a little bit of background, I'd like to mention that we have a very dynamic environment. APIs are changing daily and other APIs have to integrate with these changes. The first issue we encountered with is that we consume the same API from multiple places. That means that we have to integrate with these changes over and over again from different systems. It became clear very soon that if everyone writes his own repository or facade, each one of them will behave slightly different. Some developer will spend time on exception handling while the other will not. This obviously prolongs our time to market by a lot. Plus, we duplicate essentially the same code or functionality over and over again. To avoid that, we decided that we should select a well-written facade, publish it as a NuGet package, and the rest of the team would use that NuGet package in their own application. So now we have an SDK NuGet for an API, but who wrote it? Was it the API developer or the consumer of that API? We decided that whoever creates an API should create the facade to consume that API. This facade is located in the same repository as the API it consumes. Once the API is changed, this facade should be changed as well to reflect that by the developer of that API. So we have a NuGet package that changes weekly, if not daily. We had to still update 40 or more repositories with this NuGet. We reduced the time definitely, but we still spent a lot of time just doing repeating monkey work that didn't utilize our time well enough. So we introduced NuKeeper. NuKeeper is an open source tool. We use it in a scheduled build that triggers daily. The tool will update our NuGet packages, create a pull request for us, and since each pull request requires a build and a test to pass, we have information whether the NuGet change has broke something or not. So each morning, sipping some coffee, we just run through the open pull requests, and if everything is green, we merge them. If not, we fix the integration, which we had to fix it anyways. This helped us not to keep track which solution relies on the API that we just changed, and it automated the discovery of what is being impacted by the interface change. Another challenge we faced is where to find an API that we want to consume. Having 250 APIs per environment requires a common place to look for them. So we want to know what is the URL, what security schema it implements, where to find the Swagger or WSDL file, where to look if an API throws an error, does it work in general, or is it just failing for me? Keep in mind that we have a lot of external APIs where we can't access their internal logs. So to solve these issues, we introduced very early an API management almost 6 years ago, and we kept using it ever since. Who isn't familiar with the tool? The tool is basically a smart proxy that sits between the consumer and the consumed API. Usually any API management tool will provide you a centralized UI for monitoring the traffic, change the security settings of an API, for instance, change the basic authentication for OAuth or shared security schema. It also exposing all APIs with the same base URL, so our application settings became trivial. We just had to know the name of the API. It can also offer rate limiting per consumer, so none of the consumer can bring down our APIs. This tool provides also a central place to manage and configure all APIs. On the diagram, we can see that there are at least two types of API consumers. One is a web or other application, and the other one is a developer trying to integrate with the API. The application reaches our Azure API management tool via Azure Front Door Service, our public-facing application gateway. Then the API management, depending on the request, routes the request to either an external API, on-premise hosted API, or to one of our Azure hosted APIs. The developer has access to our developer portal, basically using the same route, and it can inspect the API's definition, even try out the API using the developer portal's UI. As a rule of thumb, I recommend considering using an API management tool after 10 or 15 APIs. I also recommend automating to set up the API management tool so the developers aren't wasting time updating the API definitions manually. As any production system, we need a robust monitoring tool to see how our environment behaves. Our system, in a sense, not complicated, but it has a lot of small parts. At the end, it adds up as a complex system. We also wanted to know if something is going wrong before the client reports to us, or to know what went wrong days or even weeks before. So we choose the Azure Application Insights service and integrated it into our system. We added it to the JavaScript part, to the backend APIs, and also the background processing functions. This gave us the ability to trace user behavior, trace errors end-to-end, and to build the alerts on top of the ingested data. In the previous slide, you could see an application map that shows a lot of services connected. That seemed confusing and useless, of course, but that is just a perk of an application insights it can do. We usually focus on small parts of our system, which shows us only a couple of nodes at a time, so we can focus our investigation only to the questionable part. It also provides us the ability to create dashboards focusing on a subsystem. The diagram shows that after integrating the monitoring tool, we can ingest the traffic logs and the exceptions into a log analytics workspace, where we can create our own queries and create alerts based on them, which can notify us by email, SMS, or via webhook call. Application Insights also provides per resource type a predefined set of metrics, which can also be used to create alerts. Each system has its own peaks and rush hours, and defining an alert with a static threshold would send unwanted alerts to us. Luckily, the alerts can be defined to use dynamic thresholds, which learns over time how the system behaves, how it works during rush hours, and how it changes during low demand. It is a very convenient tool to use because our testers are not bothering us to look for the logs, what went wrong. Rather, they're able to see the traffic between the APIs and deduce which part of the system isn't behaving well. They can also see if, for instance, we send datetimes in UTC format or not. As a closure, I'd like to mention that if you want to implement a microservice architecture, it requires that you solve at least these three common problems in your environment. Ignoring these issues, it could increase your time to market on the long run. It could lower in your team the developer satisfaction, and it could make it hard to find the production issues. Please feel free to ask any questions or tell us how you solve these issues in your environment. We are happy to discuss it. Thank you for listening.
Hello guys, good to see you.
Hi.
Hi.
So this is our first Tech Forward since we reached, let's say, 1,000 people. So it's a big team behind Milos and Jozsef and of course me. So I have to say, since last week we had more than 400 articles in languages that I couldn't even recognize. From basic German. Spanish, English, of course, Serbian, Slovenian. We saw it also in Korean, Chinese, Japan. So everybody now, I would say that HTEC is really, really hot stuff at the moment. And I think that also the topic that we have today, it's really hot stuff. And we have very interesting guests today with us. So who would I start with first? Maybe Milos, since he's more into robotics, and this is going quite hot these days. So Milos, a few questions for you, maybe, and definitely all the followers on social media and following the webinar. Welcome also to share your questions, to ask for, get ready for Jozsef or Milos. So Milos, what attributes do you need, for example, to have to be successful at this job, that you're doing now?
Well, to be successful in this role, I think that you need to have constant desire to move forward and to be curious about everything. And also always asking questions like why and how makes this job interesting and pushes you and your team forward. So I think that it goes without saying that you have to constantly upgrade your engineering skills to help you grow.
Okay. So we can also start with a few questions from our followers and from our team. So first question from Milos Mitrovic. So should API management be used on a smaller project, only a few APIs, or is it it is the best practice? Who would like to answer on this one?
In my opinion, you can use it on a smaller project. For instance, if you are providing your API for some external parties as well, you want to rate limit your API. You want to protect your backend APIs with API management. So it does make sense. A smaller project doesn't have to mean cheap or free project to host. So you certainly have to protect your API. But I wouldn't rush to use it just for one API unless there is a certain definite need for it, because it does add some overhead, some complexity in the environment setup or in general. So yeah.
Yeah, I think it should be a reasonable decision. Like you need to consider your use cases. Like for maybe smaller amount of APIs, it can just introduce unnecessary complexity. But on the other hand, if you're exposing parts of the system externally to external clients, then I guess that you need to protect yourself and to offer the best service to your external clients.
Good. So we have both sides. Thank you for answering for API, and I hope Milos is happy. And here's the next one from Alexander. How challenging is it to monitor that many components and which feature of app insights prove to the most useful to quickly detect and resolve issues?
Well, I think the application map, that graph that we showed on the presentation, that helps a lot to see the components talking or not talking to each other. We couldn't see it because it was a low resolution image, but there are colors between the nodes. There are lines colored with red or green, and if it's red, then it immediately pops into your eye that I have to click on it, I have to check it. So I would say the application map is the first, and the second one is learning how to query the logs and creating your own dashboard components and dashboard in Azure, and that way you can really customize, really query whatever you want and see all the details. I think those two things. Yeah. Milos?
I agree with you. I mean, application insights has a lot of nice features and very useful, but I think the most useful to me is application map as well. So like it's a visual tool that will immediately give you indication if something is not right, and it's then easy to just drill down into certain part of the system and then see and figure out, is it a performance degradation or is it an issue with the part of the system, and you immediately know what to do then.
Great. So we answered 2 questions on LinkedIn and Facebook that came in. More questions also welcome. And I have a few more also from my side. So asking, let's go now with Jozsef. Did you always know, for example, that working in tech was that when you were, let's say, a small kid, that something, this was your dream job, let's say?
No, I wanted to be a pilot up until 5th grade of elementary school, but then I find out that I have a fear of height, so I dropped that dream. And after that, few years later, I figured that I want to be a software engineer or programmer, and ever since I just chased that dream and finally arriving to it to be one and. Yeah. So
what was your dream? What was your dream, Milos? Thank you, Jozsef.
Yeah, I wanted to be a magician.
That's all fun. And now you're making some magic software and hardware.
Yeah, that's right.
Good. Actually, I was quite early with the tech. So one of my uncle was living in UK, so I got first computers. At that time, like 16K and 64K and all these things. So I was really into these early languages of coding. Starting with BASIC and later, the DBase3, Pascal and COBOL, and then it get complicated through time. So I thought that maybe marketing would be easier, more creative, let's say, than 1010. I was waiting for better performance of computers now, like today. But yeah, we'll see. We are on the same panel after this. Another question for Milos: how does HTEC support your professional and personal growth? We always saying, growing yourself by growing others. How do you see this in practice? How do you experience this?
Yeah, I would first say that in HTEC we have access to all kinds of learning platforms, to internal knowledge sharings and webinars like this. But also HTEC offers a structured approach to personal development with custom tailored personal development plans. So basically, your personal development is covered by the role that you undertake and during your career. So basically, you become a better person by working with your teammates and by achieving milestones together.
It's good to share things, especially if they're good, with your colleagues. Yeah. Jozsef, how do you see this, maybe from your perspective, growing?
Yeah, I also like this really custom tailored learning path or career path that HTEC allows us to follow, and we can speak to our direct managers about our plans on I don't know, if I want to learn a new technology, I can just speak to them and they offer tools to really chase down my dreams, because learning new stuff is really, really important for the developers all the time and to be up to date. So this is allowed here, and then this is really encouraged here, and I like that very much.
Great. So with learning something new, I hope, guys, you will join me on yesterday. We had a client very much interested in Solana, in working already on DeFi. So going more to crypto, we'll see. So how we develop in this field, but we find already a few people in out of 1,000. Of course, it's easy to find, but we see new languages, new platforms, let's say, of development coming up every day. So I have another question here for Jozsef. So what is the most difficult part of being engineering lead? So maybe explain what is engineering lead in your perspective, and how do you motivate your team? Let's say if you start here.
But yeah, for me, the most difficult part is to keep high level perspective of all the projects, because for our client we have a lot of small projects that are working together, and you have to keep in mind what the overall flow should look like, what it should really do, and how to behave. And keeping that in mind, it's really challenging, and also helping the team to follow that path and not to deviate too much of the desired path. I would say that is the most difficult thing. How to motivate the team? Well, I try to be an example of how to behave, how to communicate with the clients, how to communicate with the other team members here or from the client side. So yeah, I don't know. just being an example, I guess helps a lot, and being positive, not to blame who did what. Rather, let's fix it. Let's go together. Let's sit down together, talk about, and make sure that it won't happen again. Or things like that. So.
I have one extra question, Jozsef. You mentioned, before you're afraid of, heights, and now you're working on high level. Is this something connected?
Well, in the meantime, I conquered my fears, but I'm still sitting on my chair on the 5th floor. So it's okay. It's okay. I'm not.
Okay, you get up to 5th floor. That's good.
Yeah. After that, I get shaky. Yeah.
Good.
Just kidding. No.
Here's Jozsef. I saw that you're not too active on social media. I find out the last post on LinkedIn on 2 years, so I was hardly researching, about you. But I found that you were interested in smart buildings. Is this something in common with the 5th floor, or is just something to say about this?
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure whether I should show up, but I have a smart what's it called, light bulb. I can increase via phone. So yeah, I'm interested in making the home a bit smarter, or just more convenient, because when you lie down on the bed, you just want to turn off all the lights in the house, and you want to push of a button to do that. So yeah, I'm interested in those kind of things, but I not yet started to envision my future home or things like that.
Great. So yeah, we all are looking forward to have smart homes, and to enjoy. Yeah. But then when I was just looking for Black Friday, there's exactly Jozsef, what you were mentioning. What should I buy? This was on my list, waiting in the shopping cart, for Friday, and looking which components would fit best. Milos, since we are moving from smart homes, I saw you're having a deep interest in robotics also. Can you tell us, there's so big fear. We read always articles, of people being afraid more than COVID, being afraid of robots, we'll lose jobs, robots are coming. And when we see also this Boston Robotics and things, what's moving. Do you think people should be afraid, or how do you see robots will develop in the future?
No, I guess, it is frightening to know that you have like these robots that are smart and that can do a lot of things, that can run, that can jump, that can simulate human behavior. But I think there is no reason to fear them. It's just it's like it is basically still how you program them and what you do. So I think that it's not like that they will conquer the world and and make us all slaves. So I think there is no reason to fear it.
I saw that even New York PD, police department, is using robot dogs in a way. So maybe that's the future. We'll not have time, because we work so long hours, to take our dog, outside. So maybe, robot dog would be the future for our kids. Who knows? Hopefully not coming soon. Yeah.
Yeah, all those interesting videos that people are joking around, like from Boston Dynamics, where they are testing robots, like pushing them, throwing them, and how the robots will react. Like, are they going to get up and so things? So people are joking, like, robots will remember and do the same to us once they are our overlords.
Yeah,
but it's funny.
Yeah, it starts from fun.
Yeah, it's actually easy to defeat them. You just hide the chargers, and that's all. Day to day.
It all starts and ends, exactly with charger. Is it the right plug-in? Where to charge, whatever we need. Yes, cables. I should not forget to put on my list for Friday. Yeah, good. Good. So maybe for the end, what do you see? I mean, HTEC was growing last January. It was 238 people, now more than 1,000. Who knows where we'll get next year? There's huge interest of clients, of partners, and also people to join. Since we moved from 3 to 15 centers in the region, how do you see? Development maybe of HTEC. Do you think is it too fast, how we are growing, or is exactly this giving opportunity to grow your career even faster?
I would say maybe on the first look and like the first feeling, maybe it is like scary to know that there is this explosive growth, and then so a year ago we were at like 500 people. Now we are over 1,000. So it is quite a large growth. But I think also that it opens a lot of doors for everyone to step up and to take roles and to build their careers and to work with others. So, and also it opens a lot of opportunities to work with all kinds of technologies, new interesting stuff, work with challenging clients. And so I think this growth actually opens a lot of opportunities for everyone to be whatever they want. So I think it is a good thing.
Jozsef, how do you see?
I think it's fine because from the outside it looks scary, I suppose, but from the inside we see that these structures are developing. So how the company grows, a new hierarchy is being put in place. So yeah, management is following and they're creating their own company structure. Not really, but something like that in high level. So yeah, I think structure is following the changes and it keeps working.
Yeah, great. So I was talking with some of the engineers just this week also, trying to explain the story, that actually the whole company started that we just didn't want to work for others, but we wanted actually to work with others. The difference, and also when our founder Alexander Shibrilo left Intel, mother was crying for a week. So you left such a company, but he said no, I want to work with Intel, not just in Intel. So and that was quite took some years actually to develop all these things, but now it's really great that we can say we just don't just work for others, but we work with them and as partners, also investing in some of these companies. It's amazing, when we record a few videos also with our clients, how happy they are. I remember still the quote, when somebody said, I can recognize when somebody of our employees is talking with HTEC or with other people. So I said, maybe it's negative. No, it's so positive. They have nice mimics on their face, so must be some fun, that we add value actually to them. Good. I'm out of questions, guys. So there was all from Alexander, Milos. We got few questions. I had few. Anything else maybe to conclude today's Tech Forwards? Milos, Jozsef, what would you like to add for the end?
Yeah, I'm not sure what to say. I mean, if anyone has any comment or question, feel free to contact us maybe directly. So we are open to answer any question. So don't hesitate.
Also about robots.
Yeah, about anything.
Yeah. Jozsef, also so about smart buildings and what to buy on Friday. Maybe, who knows? Now you will get a lot of feeds in your social media.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not advertising, but that internal joke here in company. There is like, just buy Xiaomi. That is the best thing to buy. It's the price, and no, that got out of hand. So yeah, don't contact me about those kind of things.
So I can see Jozsef have some extra skills, reading minds, because I have exactly this page opened, So,
It's not reading mine, it's reading your screen. It's
good.
yeah.
Hey,
Feel free to contact me as well. I'm on LinkedIn. Usually, yeah, sometimes I look at it maybe once a week or twice a week. So yeah, feel free to leave a message. Open to discuss, maybe improve the current architecture or in general things. Yeah.
Great. So guys, you can see that also enterprise level integrations can be not just technically superior by HTEC, but it can be really fun, working in HTEC, working with HTEC guys. And I'm sure that Milos and Jozsef will be happy to have few more good senior people or junior, joining the team and developing the knowledge together and adding value to each other, that we can grow not just clients, but that we can grow our career, knowledge, and grow ourselves personally. That's the most important at the end. So thank you all. Thank you, Milos. Thank you, Jozsef. Great. I wish you also great Black Friday. See you.
Thank you, Nico.
Thank
you,
you.
everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.